Hope Channel, changing lives.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Healthy Living on Hope TV. My name is Bibi. Happy New Year, since it's our first episode in the year 2021. I believe you are doing very well and you are fit to kickstart the year. I know that 2020 didn't go too well, but this year, by faith, we know that things will go well with God involved and with God on our side. Thank you so much for making time to watch this program. And today we are discussing something really important. We see that because of COVID-19 and because of the pressures of work and all, most of us have neglected our health. We just put up something, wake up in the morning, go to work, hustle and bustles of the day, you come back, you sleep, you wake up, and it has been a routine. But have we really taken time to look into our health and things that will help us to live a healthy lifestyle? That is why we are here today. Our topic for today is starting the year right, setting healthy goals. I know that you are ready for that. I have two guests here. One is in the studio and then one will join us via Zoom. The person in the studio is Dr. Josiah Sapong. He's an optometrist and he's well versed in issues concerning health. So he's here to assist us with the topic for the day. Doctor, you are welcome.
Thank you, Bibi.
I hope you are fine.
By God's grace, I'm doing very well.
And how was your day?
My day was good. It was good. I spent most of the time in the house.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because I didn't go to work today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a good
Then
time.
you are well relaxed.
Yeah, very well relaxed.
Good for
you. Very well relaxed.
I'll move to my next guest. Who is joining us via Zoom. He is Dr. David Ado. He is a naturopath. Dr. Ado, good evening, if you can hear me.
Good evening. I can hear you loud and clear.
Right. I hope you are doing well, sir.
I am very, very well.
And how has your day been?
Oh, my day, I decided to go to Accra and see how things are, and to watch people go without their mask and, people taking life so easy. So I came home not too long ago, but I had a good time.
Right. So before we start off, we'll go for this quick break. When we come back, we begin with our discussion.
We want to defy our family's decision and get married or elope. I need advice. What should I do?
Please, what should I do?
How do I tell her I cheated on her months ago? I need help. What should I do?
Okay, so for me, the moment I read the story, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, knowledge is indeed power. Sometimes we go through situations because we have no knowledge of how to go about them.
If you come from a home like that, you are likely to accept anything the outsider would, direct at.
The fact that we had an interesting ceremony where a priest prayed and all of that doesn't mean that magically you have turned into something else.
If he finds his way to God, a Bible-believing church, and he goes and he wants to change, nothing is impossible.
His properties to charity and stuff?
Oh no, why? Okay, I think this is another discussion that we will not end today, so we will not even go into it.
Real Talk, showing this and every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Hello and welcome back from the break. If you just joined us, this is Healthy Living on Hope TV. My name is Bibi. Tonight we are discussing a topic on starting the year right, setting healthy goals. This is an all-important topic and I know that you don't have to miss it. We'll start with a quote from Ellen G. White from her book Counsels on Temperance and Bible Hygiene, page 42, paragraph 1. It says, "One of the strongest temptations that man has to meet is upon the point of appetite. In the beginning, the Lord made man upright. He was created with a perfectly balanced mind, the size and strength of all his organs being fully and harmoniously developed. But through the seductions of a willy fool, the prohibition of God was disregarded, and the laws of nature wrought out their full penalty." Ellen G. White, Counsels on Temperance and Bible Hygiene, page 42, paragraph 1. So, Doctor, to our topic for discussion today, starting the year right, setting healthy goals. I know that health is really important to us because you know that with every disease that we talk about, it says live a healthy life and you can overcome it. So let's talk about what health is, or what good health is.
Okay. So it's always good to start the year right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there are so many pressing matters that people do not really get time for their health.
Right.
And so this is a good topic because there's a new year, comes with new hopes, new expectancies, new desires, and people are looking at how they will make ends meet, how they will cater for themselves. But sometimes we forget about our health. When we talk about health, we are talking about how the whole being can work together aright. Right? So fullness of our well-being, talking about our physical, our spiritual, our emotional, right, and even our interactions with others. And so when we talk about health, it's about the holistic well-being of the whole human anatomy, the whole human personality. And so with the new year, it is always right that we start with setting goals concerning our health. Like I said, people are always concerned about how they will make ends meet.
Yeah, right.
But as we are starting the new year, it's always right. And I believe that people who are watching at the end of this show, they are going to set goals that is going to carry them on a higher pedestal as long as their health is concerned. Right.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Ado. Hello, Dr. Ado. Yes, Dr. Ado, can you hear me, please?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much. So as we were already talking about, we've spoken about what health or good health is about. I want you to talk to us about the Adventist message on health.
Okay. Good evening to all the listeners, and it's a pleasure to be here. I hope you can see me clearly. But if you can't see me, just pick up on the voice. As a people, we believe that the totality of the person must fulfill the gospel in its totality. So the gospel is not just about being only heavenly minded, but it's about being connected on the plane in terms of on the earth. And to be able to be connected, we believe the body has to be healthy, because a healthy body in a healthy mind is better placed to understand the deeper things of God as it applies to the individual and as it applies to the others vis-a-vis evangelism. So you don't just evangelize talking to people about heaven, but in our preparation for heaven, it's about making sure that we are presenting the total person. As my colleague said, it's about the mind, the emotions, it's about the physical aspect, and it's also about spiritual. Critical factor though, when the physical body is weak, you can't build a strong spiritual base, because all you do is be complaining about how God should make you well, rather than God, what would thou have me do? So we believe you must be healthy in all aspects. and critical to that is what we eat, our rest patterns, ability to manage stress, the use of natural means to help the body function as God has designed it. I think I'll leave it here for now.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. I think that has been clearly explained. Now, for the purpose of this program, we will touch on the New Start acronym, which we use to touch on the totality of our health. And so I'll ask Dr. Sapong to go through that for us. We'll take it one after the other and then explain it further throughout the program. So, Doctor, if you can talk to us about the New Start acronym and what the various...
So, when we say New Start, it is a health program which many have applied over the years to achieve a holistic health.
Right.
And New Start is actually coined from the writings of Ellen White. When you read Counsels on Diet and Food, page 301, paragraph 3, Ellen White says that pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, rest, exercise, proper diet, and the use of water, trust in divine power, these are the true remedies, right? So in these days where people are resorting to medications, medicine, and chemicals for keeping of healthy life, New Start is a program that tunes our minds to the natural remedies. It goes back to Eden, right, to look at the various factors in the Garden of Eden that are essential for our health. So New Start, we are talking about the N stands for our nutrition, what we eat. The E stands for exercise, physical activity. The W stands for water, right? Water.
Yeah.
The S is about sunlight. The T has to do with temperance or abstemiousness. And then the A is about air. The R stands for rest. And then the T stands for trust in a divine power. So this is what we believe as Seventh-day Adventists, that we do not resort to medications. If you want to live a healthy life, we go back to Eden. And the Eden principles are what have been coined in this acronym New Start. And it's in that we get our perfect natural health straight from God as He gave in the Garden of Eden.
Right, perfect natural health as God gave in the Garden of Eden. So we'll take nutrition, which stands for the N. I'll ask you about what is a healthy diet. If we say a healthy diet, what does it entail?
Okay, so a healthy diet, when we talk about a healthy diet is a diet that has all the essential nutrients for supporting the human system, right?
Okay.
So a healthy diet must be free of anything that is detrimental to the health of the human anatomy or the human, the working together of the human system. And so a healthy diet must have every nutrient that is needed. And it must not cause illness, right? Have any adverse effect on the body, right? So when we talk about a healthy diet, that is what it entails.
Okay.
Right. But before we move on, always to me, I believe that as we are talking about New Start, a healthy diet goes back to Eden. Right? And I'll always point people back to the Garden of Eden. When you look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, the Bible says that, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be meat. And so today, people eat all kinds of things. But as far as natural health is concerned, natural remedies are concerned, a perfect diet is the first diet that God gave to mankind.
Okay.
Right? So a perfect diet, if you are telling me what is a 100% perfect diet, is the very first diet that God gave to Adam and Eve in their perfect Edenic home. right? Which consists of herbs, fruits, and everything that is of a plant source. That is a perfect diet for the human body.
Dr. Ado, so we go to Dr. Ado. Doctor has spoken to us about what a perfect diet is, which consists of plant-based diet. Now, currently, I know that some people consume things that are of animal origin. Does it have any effects?
Before I answer that question, let me quickly say that because God was very clear on the fact that things we put in can cause trauma, stress, and de-stress to the body, that was the reason why he gave the perfect diet as described. Because those nutrients are what we call bioavailable. In other words, they are readily available and our bodies don't struggle to process them and thereby deriving the nutrients required to sustain the body. However, we find people eating whatever, and there are arguments to support its benefits. But science is now caught up a long way. Science has come a long way to appreciate the fact that certain critical illness can, with the proper diet, be reversed. You talk about heart disease, you talk about cholesterol, you talk about diabetes, bone problems, and a complex of diseases. Now, consuming those things, let me take meat, for example. There is what we call transition time. The plant-based diet that God gave us often take between 4 to 6 hours max or maximum for the body to process them. However, if you take the high protein diet, some could take between 9 hours to about 14 days because a lot of people do not chew the protein. And you see, your teeth don't drop into your stomach and chew the food you didn't chew. But it stays there and begins to go through the process of rottenness, putrefaction. Therefore, you become a body full of toxic waste. And your liver now is under distress to try and filter the filth you have created. And so the argument for the animal foods, whilst yes, in certain health conditions, they tell you you may require to increase that. We have enough things now to help you balance it. Not only that, the byproduct of the high protein foods leaves you with a lot of acid in your blood. Your blood is supposed to be alkaline. And so when you become over acidified, there are other chemical reactions that take place in the body. And it forces you to lose vital and critical nutrients to sustain your structure. For example, calcium, you lose your phosphates. And so you are not able to, and you lose also your bone mineral. Therefore, as you age, you find the wear and tear on your skeletal structure is weakening. It affects the use of cholesterol in your body because with the acid blood, it begins to irritate the fine surface lining of your blood vessels. Therefore, cholesterol is used to block them. This leads to the narrowing of the arterial walls. I believe there's a lot we could say, but taking those things without the right guidance, you are creating mayhem in your system and you're creating untold woe for yourself later in life.
Right. So, Doc, as a follow-up to what you just said, I know that there are certain foods that cannot be combined, as in fruits, vegetables, and other things. Can you touch on it briefly for us?
When it comes to food combination, depending upon the processing you are using. Now, when you do juicing, there's a different category of doing that. When you are chewing the food, it's another matter. There are certain foods, like if you combine the sugary foods, also the fruits. Now, the rapidity of their digestion is very fast. You take watermelon, as the name states, watermelon. It breaks down very quickly. So imagine you mix watermelon with your vegetables and with your, some people create salad and they have all kind of things. So you mix your watermelon. Once that has gone through or has started the process of breaking down, the other foods, if there are oils and other things in it, stops that digestive process. And so you get fermentation. So when you want to combine your foods, there is a science about it. Now, your vegetables should be your central. Vegetable goes with your carbohydrates. Vegetables goes with your protein. Now, your fruits, we have sour fruits, sweet fruits, soft sweet fruits. It's a complex way. But what I say to people is, if you're going to take fruits, it's better you take them on their own and allow them to release the high energy for you. That's why I recommend you have your fruit salad in the morning. Now, fruits have carbohydrates. So if you combine your fruits with a carbohydrate-based cereal, and not too many fruits, but 1 or 2 fruits, so you can have your banana and your raisins in oats. The banana raisins could be your sugar. That will go well. You can have just oats on its own. You can have oats and rice milk. You can have rice water, and you can have a bit of soya milk, but the combination of foods should be simplistic. Do not combine too many of them. Some of the foods we eat, like you have fufu, chicken, fish, and meat. That's like a time bomb. The tensile strength of fish is different from chicken, is different from meat, in terms of the strength of the muscles and how quickly they break down. You mix that, your body struggles, and your body gets exhausted. Therefore, you'll find people who eat very complex foods soon begin to have a bulging before them. The stomachs become bigger, simply because the body is tired by the time you finish processing them. And so the energy received, it's stored. And that's when you begin to develop extensions to your body tissue. So make your food simple. The sugary stuff, in terms of fruits, you can take them. But don't even mix, if you're chewing, mix watermelon with any other fruit. If you blend in, yes, but when you're blending or juicing, don't mix too many complex foods. When you juice, it's chewed already. So you can drink it and it goes through the system. Probably at another time, we could give you a whole list of foods that you can combine and what time you could consume them and its impact on the body.
Thank you so much, Doctor. This takes us to regularity in eating. I know that, to you, Dr. Sapon, I know that there are some people that have intervals at which they eat. Others say they eat in the morning and then that's it. Some people just take lunch and then they are fine for the day. Others, I know some people joke about it and say 010, 100 and all that. What's your take on that? Is there an ideal way or interval at which we should eat?
Okay, so before I touch on that, let me quickly mention that dieting is very important.
Okay.
If you look at the world's life expectancy, right? Global life expectancy is around 72 years. In Ghana here, we have 64 years. And if you look at areas in the world where we record the highest life expectancies, as we earlier said, most of them is because of the kind of diet that they eat, as Doctor mentioned, right? They all go back to the natural diet that God gave in Eden. So we call them blue zones, right? So we can talk about areas like Okinawa in Japan, talk about Loma Linda in California. These are areas where people live longer than the average life expectancy, global life expectancy. So it's very important that we eat right, and also we space it right, as you asked. We don't really recommend, or there's no actual pattern how we are supposed to eat. We have the breakfast, we have the lunch, we have the supper. As much as possible, if someone can take, or someone can go through breakfast, lunch, and supper, has the means to provide breakfast, lunch, and supper, it's right. What we do not recommend, or what is not recommendable, is eating in very short intervals, right? So someone takes breakfast, in the next few minutes, hours, the person wants to take something, even before it's, let's say, midday, for the person to take lunch. So eating in bits, right, within very short intervals, it's not recommendable, because the system needs time to digest what it has already taken, right? But as much as possible, breakfast is very, very important, especially for brain workers, people who need cognitive skills in their daily work. You don't skip breakfast, unless maybe it's for a special purpose. You are fasting, you want to do something, you want to leave out breakfast.
For medical reasons.
But yes, or for other medical reasons, or if you want to take some medication. So, but breakfast is very important. I know many people are busy, they have to be in the car, they have to catch, get to work early, they have to be in traffic, they skip breakfast. But as much as possible, breakfast is very important. And lunch, because you take breakfast, you take it well, and it's supposed to be a full 7, right? So that it can take you through the day. So lunch is not meant to be that heavy, right? Lunch is not meant to be that heavy. So breakfast is very important. You can take lunch, and then your supper comes in the evening. But what is not recommendable, what is not advisable, is eating in bits within short spaces or intervals. Some people want to do morning and evening. Right? I was reading counsels on food and diet, and Ellen White was saying that she does 2. She eats her breakfast, she eats her supper, but there's no recommended style. Someone may want to take breakfast, lunch, and supper. Someone may want to take heavy breakfast that will take the person throughout the day, and then in the evening the person takes his or her supper, and then there's time for it to digest before the person goes to bed, right? So we do not have an outline or a specific recommendation, but as much as possible, you make sure that there are intervals for the food to digest, especially after supper. You don't go straight to bed. One reason why many people are having problems, high blood pressure, diabetes, most of them is because they eat, and in our part of the world here, we go with our heavy carbohydrate meals, our fufu, our banku, and in some few minutes, some few hours, the person is going to bed, right? And recently in my clinic, there was a patient who was diagnosed of diabetic retinopathy. The person had a chronic diabetes, and it was affecting the eye. And so there are some small blood vessels in the eye that were beginning to burst. There were hemorrhages in the eye. And so as we consulted with the patient, we asked, we realized that on the left foot, there was a big sore, a big wound. So we asked, how long has it been there? And per her response, it had been there for a long time. We made her check her blood sugar, her fasting, it was 16. She was diabetic, chronic diabetes. And it was affecting almost every part. There was a wound, it wasn't healing. We asked her, what do you eat? What did you take yesterday? I took akple She said, oh, I took akpele this morning, I took Tom Brown, and she went to bed after taking the akpele. You know, when it happens like that, the body does not have enough time to digest it. And this is akpele is a heavy carbohydrate meal.
Sure.
And she's going straight to bed. So we have to know that there is a need for intervalling, right, for the food to digest. But we do not have any recommended style, whether everybody should go breakfast, lunch, supper, or everybody should go breakfast and then supper. What you can, and then what you can afford, but you just have to give right intervals for it to digest. Yeah.
So now, how many hours is ideal for you to stay awake after eating before you go to bed?
So ideally, 2 hours averagely.
Oh.
2 hours averagely. But it depends on the kind of meal you took, right? For instance, if I take a vegetable salad, you don't expect the person who took a vegetable salad for supper to, because digestion is different from somebody who took fufu, 2 bowls of fufu, and then somebody who took a vegetable salad for supper.
Or a fruit
right?
salad.
Or fruit salad. So it depends, but averagely, by 2 hours time, digestion process is complete, and then before you go to bed, right? So if you take your fufu, you take your akpele, you must allow that time to elapse before you go to bed, averagely 2 hours. And if it can be more, 3, 4, it's fine, right? But it shouldn't be less than 2 hours, right? Within 1 hour space, and the person is going to bed. That is not recommendable. That is not good. It has adverse effects.
Sometimes the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
The flesh is true. It's true, because I realized that, especially those who come back from work late. You come back, you have to eat, and you have to go to bed. Sometimes some of them will even doze off because they are very tired, right? So if you know you have to come back from work late, you try to eat before you get home, right? If there are ways possible for you to eat before you get home, so that at least by the time you are home, the food has digested before you go to bed, right? So it's very important that you make that time elapse before you go to bed. Otherwise, it's rather to the adverse effect of the body.
All right, thank you, doctor. So we'll go for this quick break. When we come back, we continue with our discussion.
For the lack of knowledge you will perish, as the Bible says in Hosea 4 verse 6.
The grace, the blood of Jesus is there for us. So I can't be sick, I can't be poor, I cannot suffer affliction.
Jesus told you, be faithful unto death to receive the crown of life. We have to go through tribulation, we have to go through problems, because there will be no crown without a cross.
The verse says that we would go through afflictions because of his name's sake.
Yes.
There are lots of eye-opening discussions to prepare you for the second coming of Jesus Christ. Join us as we watch the signs with Pastor Kwabena Chum on Hope Channel this and every Thursday at 4 p.m.
Hi, how is it going with you?
Welcome back from the break. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Healthy Living on Hope TV. My name is Bibi. You can join us, send your questions via our WhatsApp line on 0559 680066. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube via our handle Hope TV GH. We are discussing starting the year right, setting healthy goals. And we've spoken already about the Adventist message about health and the acronym New Start. We've already touched on nutrition. We'll move through it till the end. So before the break, we spoke about late night eating and how it affects our body. Dr. Ado, if you can quickly talk to us about the various foods that we need to consume for breakfast, lunch, and supper briefly, so that we can touch on the other topics.
Okay. I'd like to comment briefly on what my colleague has said. I recommend 2 meals a day. The reason I do that is the reason the lady who came to his clinic. A lot of us are not educated in terms of the right foods. And so we eat the wrong foods and drop to bed. And the consequence is what we had been spoken of the lady eating, and even though she's had difficulty, nerve endings damaging, blood vessels being destroyed, she's almost losing her sight, her limbs. So it's important, I stress that breakfast is key. If you can maintain your hydration, which will be the next thing we'll be coming to after exercise. So for example, breakfast, you are breaking the fast. It is good you eat reasonably well and eat foods that are easily digestible. So we have a lot of cereals, which are carbohydrates. And you see, in eating carbohydrates, you've got to make sure you have the ones that are as close to as natural as possible. Those contain what we call complex sugars. So they are released to the body in a cascading effect. In other words, it's a slow release. But if you eat the refined carbohydrates, then you create a surge of energy and then you drop. So our Tom Browns, the brown rice, the maize with the husk on it, you can have banku and a vegetable stew. I would recommend, if you're having a vegetable stew, that it could be vegetable stew without any kind of high protein in it. That combination helps your body and sustains your body. The reason why people don't eat right is that we don't drink properly. So when we come to hydration, we'll talk about that. But if you have your high carbohydrates, so the cereals as close to as natural, so your cornflakes and stuff are all refined foods. We have enough cereal in Ghana that you can prepare very nice breakfast. Now, when you have your breakfast, you've got to wait and make sure after an hour or two before you start drinking. Oftentimes, we begin to drink and therefore the digestion is affected by the dilution. So if you have your cereals, if you want to have lunch, something for lunch, and you're working, if you eat a heavy meal, you go back to your desk, especially if you're sedentary, and these days, most people are working from home. You find you eat and then you begin to nod, and the body is tired because it's not engaged in any activity. So if you could have something very light, probably a little, another sorts of food, we have waakye, we have banku. I normally seriously do not recommend fufu because fufu takes a long time to break down. You can eat a cassava, you can eat the yam, you can eat the plantain, you can eat the cocoyam, you can eat the brown rice, and we have a host of things. TZ with the green vegetables, stuff they do, the contomere, the palava sauce and all that. But make sure that it is not washed with a lot of oil. In the evening, because you'll be going to bed, I'll say that if you can, do a smoothie and just have a glass. When you do a smoothie or a fruit salad, make sure you chew your food properly. Because we don't chew properly, I often recommend you do a fruit smoothie, make it as light as possible. So don't stuff a lot of fruits and get this thick, Hausa cocoa thickness type of smoothie. It's light. When it gets into the body takes it, it extracts the nutrients, it passes through, and then you'll find the body itself will respond properly and your sleep will be sweet. But if you eat your waakye in the evening or your banku and the fufu in the evening, the stuff with the fufu and the meat, it's going to take you through the night. And sometimes people get strange dreams, thinking that somebody is after them. Most of those dreams are your own making. The body is overloaded, the stomach is fighting with the brain so that it can process the food, And whilst the body is also being prepared to rest, at another point there is a struggle. And so then all of a sudden, the chemical reactions and the signals from the brain throws everything out, and you find lions running after you, or trains coming through your roof, and you're almost being hit by a truck you've never seen before in your life. So have a reasonable breakfast, mainly cereals. You can mix them with the fruits, but chew properly. Lunch, reasonable, but I recommend, for me, my recommendation would be about 6 hours. Within the 6 hours, make sure you are drinking water sufficiently to keep you hydrated and the cells relaxed. And then in the evening, something very light. If possible, if you don't eat in the evening, you're sleeping, your body won't wake up and say, look, I didn't eat before I went to bed. And as he rightly describes, Sister White has 2 meals.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. This takes us to exercise. Now to Dr. Sapon. Is there anything like too much exercise?
Okay. Too much exercise. Yeah, I think there can be too much exercise because in our new start, we said the T stands for temperance. Temperance is anything that is good, attaching moderacy to it, right? Okay. So whatever is good, we know that too much of everything can be bad, right? So there can be too much of exercise, but exercise is a very good thing, right? So it has a significant impact on our body. First, people who are able to exercise, they build their brain strength. Okay. So exercise has significant impact on our memory. Exercise helps us to burn calories, as we know. Exercise even works on our skin, right? So ladies who want to keep good skin, as you hit the gym, as you exercise, as you wipe your sweat away, your pores are opened up, and then dirt that are locked up in them all comes out. So exercise is a very good thing, but it depends on which kind of exercise you are doing, and then what duration you are doing it. Okay. So when we talk about exercise, I know there are 3 basic types of exercise. Okay. We have strength training. So strength training has to do with muscles, building muscles, right? So that is where you do heavy lifting, and then you build your body mass by working on your muscles, adding muscle weight. And it's very good. You know, most ladies don't want to do strength training because people think that as you do strength training, you are going to bulk up and your body shape. No, it's not so. You see, people who build body mass through muscles, there's something we call metabolism when the system is at rest, and then metabolism when you are exercising. So when you are exercising, you are burning calories. But as we are here now, we are at rest. If I have a more body muscle mass than you, I have a higher rate of burning calories when we are at rest, as we are sitting here, than you. Okay. Right? So people who do strength training and build muscles, it's a very good way of burning calories, especially when you are at rest. We also have what we call aerobics. So aerobics have to do with swift exercise that will help oxygen to rush into the lungs to help carbon dioxide to come out, right? So aerobics has to do with your jogging, your skipping. It helps the heart to beat faster. It helps oxygen to rush into the lungs to push carbon dioxide away. So aerobics is also very good, right? It's also very good. So the duration has to do with which of these you are doing. The other one has to do with stretching, like stretching exercises. So that one, you are not using dumbbells, you are not building muscles, but you are stretching the system, right? So those who work on their abs, as those who stretch, these are all stretching exercises that also help the system. So too much of exercise, coming back to what you said, too much of exercise can be bad. In all these 3 types of exercises, they are supposed to be a right duration. right? And it depends on your age. There are age ranges, right? Children need exercises, but compared to adults, you see, children are very active. They play a lot, right? An adult who especially has a sedentary lifestyle may need to exercise more, right? May need to exercise more than a child. And an old man, right, maybe 65 plus, may not have to do as much exercise as, let's say, an adult who is in a sedentary lifestyle. So you have to look at your work demands, your age range. All these factors come to play when you are talking about exercise. I heard a story of an old man who was hypertensive, and there was this medics who came to their church, gave them some health talks, talked so much about exercise, and this man wanted to exercise. Like, he heard that if you exercise, you burn calories, and the next morning he wore his shoes, went on jogging, which is aerobics. He went jogging. After 2 hours, I learned he wanted to rest by a pole, and daytime this man was still attached to the pole. Whoa. He was dead, right? So even when you are starting exercise, we have low levels, we have medium levels, we have higher levels. If you hit the gym, you don't go straight away to 50 kg. You start 20, 10, 20, 15, week by week, and your instructor will be taking you through. So exercise is very good, but too much of it outside moderacy can be bad for us.
Too much of everything is bad. Now, Dr. Ado, I want to ask you, how often does one need to exercise?
Every day. You got to walk every day. Walking is an exercise.
Pardon me?
Even having your watch is a form of exercise. But in terms of a planned activity of exercise, the first principle is that know your health status and be guided. When you get to a gym too, you've got to make sure that the guy there is not just a macho guy who has the ability to lift stuff and pull. Make sure there is a level of professionalism and an understanding of the dynamics of the body, how the body functions. And so, coming back to your question, a daily exercise. So if you work on let's say, a high-rise building, instead of you sending emails and WhatsApp to people, you could come via the stairs to meet your colleagues and go up. As my colleague said, there are different forms, but there is the basic one, which is walking. And you must make time to at least walk every day, at least 30 minutes. So I'm retired, but I do kind of calls for a clinic. Basically, in the mornings, I try to walk in the garden, do a little digging, stretch a little bit, kind of do step on the stairs up and down, deep breathing and all that. But for young people, you need to make the time and do regular exercises, at least 4 times a week, planned exercise in moderation and well guided will not only build the muscle for you to be able to utilize energy in terms of your metabolic activity, but it will also tone the organs from the skin to the vital organs, because the more they function properly, the better the muscular structure of those organs are toned. And that is what adds to longevity with God's grace.
Now, doctor, so does it mean that every form of exercise has to be guided by an instructor, or you can develop your own plan?
Now, walking is safe, but I don't expect you to walk from here to Tema all of a sudden. You must also, in exercising, make sure you have the right gear. Some of us go exercising in our chaliwati. It affects your joints because our roads are not smooth, and even the smooth roads are not paved with the right material. So as you run on them, if you're not using the right shoes, trainers, then it means every step you take, the negative impact comes to your knee and your hip and your vertebrae. So if you want to do leisurely walking for about 30 minutes, fine. But where you now want to move into a higher plane where your body is tasked. Because you see, a lot of us don't do health checks. And so we don't know our health status. And if you don't know your health status, like the diabetic guy who heard about exercise and took off, when he sat down, he had overstretched and he cut out the brain from communicating with the other parts of the body, and he was gone. I have had situations where people have taken to exercises and they've had similar experience. Even footballers who are constantly exercising and playing, we've had situations where some have dropped dead on the pitch. So when it comes to exercise, you have to be intelligent about it. Talk about what you want to do. Get a plan, discuss it with a health professional. It's better safe than sorry.
No, it's better safe than sorry. Thank you, Doctor. Now to Dr. Sapong. You know, we have some people who engage in a lot of physical activity in their line of work. Like we have these guys that lift a lot of cement and all that. They climb up a staircase, come down. People that work in a chop bar, they're always pounding and all that. Are those people also required to get an exercise plan, or because their system is always working, they can go by that?
Okay, so there are many people who are engaged in physical activity. So there is physical activity and there is exercise.
Right.
Right, so I have to pack things. Right, in the course of my work, I do a manual work. I have to pack, I have to walk. These people are engaged in physical activities. In fact, we cannot say that it's not good for their health. It is very good for their health.
Right.
Right, as they walk, it's not a sedentary lifestyle. It's not a sit at one place kind of work. They are engaged in a physical activity. But when you are talking about exercise, there's supposed to be that element of intentionality.
Okay.
That is where the plan comes in. So I always say that there's a difference between physical activity and exercise.
Right.
And if I'm packing things, maybe I'm using my forelimbs, right? So always I'm using my forelimbs. What about my other parts? What about the other parts of the human anatomy, right? So when you are exercising, there should be intentionality, there should be plan, right? So these days there are exercise apps. They will ask you, what do you do? What work do you do? And they will factor all that into the plan, and then they will prescribe a better exercise plan for you. So there's a difference between physical activity and exercise. Exercise has an intentionality element attached to it, right? So you don't say, because I always walk to the market, whenever you do something with your brain attached to it, you are mindful of it, it has more effect than when you are doing it without the brain as part of it. So whenever you want to exercise, it's always right, get a plan. The next 30 minutes, I'm going to skip first for 10 minutes. I'm going to work on my abs. I'm going to do this. So there's supposed to be a plan. And there are different physical activities. Somebody may be using the legs, like I said, somebody may be using the forelimbs, somebody may be using only the fingers, right? So there are different physical activities, and it's not the same as exercise. It's not the same.
So exercise needs to be planned.
It needs to be planned.
Right.
Should be intentional.
Right. Now let's move and talk about water. I know that water has a lot of importance, and which has been stressed on a lot. How much water are we supposed to consume in a day?
In a day? I think Dr. Ado will come in, but always we hear of 8 glasses. They will say 8 glasses, but I always ask, how do I measure my glasses?
Yeah.
Right, so as much as we need to hydrate, right? We need to hydrate. We don't have to wait till we feel thirsty before we drink water, right? So in between meals, they always say 8 glasses. Maybe Dr. Ado will give you the actual efficacy, but I will say that as much as you need it, right? And you don't wait till you feel thirsty.
Okay.
Whenever you feel thirsty, it means you are on the very low.
Right.
Right. It means the body is in a dire need of water. You have almost run out. Right. So you should have plans in between meals. Like you should be drinking water as often as you can, as often as possible, because you need it for your brain cells to work. Right. You need it for your brain cells to work. You need it for your joints to work, the fluids there. You need it even for your eye. On top of your eye is a fluid, it's water that helps you to blink. Right? You need it for salivating. You need water. We often say that our body is about 65 to 80% of water. We need it. So right in the morning, when I wake up, my wife will ask, have you drank water? You just go and get your water. So right from the morning, after taking your breakfast, in between meals, it's as often as you have access to it. I read something there in the book of Genesis. You know, when God created Adam and Eve and placed them in the Garden of Eden, when you read Genesis chapter 2, I think verse 10 going, on the third day, God had created the seas. But when he created the Garden of Eden, he created another river that runs through the entire stretch of the Garden of Eden. And it goes outside the Garden of Eden and it passed to 4 ways. This was the water that was meant for them. So wherever they are in the Garden of Eden, they had access to it. Perchance, if they go outside the Garden of Eden, they had what? The different tributaries of that water, also which was a potable drinking water for them. So as much as you need it, you have to drink it. And you don't replace it with fluids, these soft drinks and sugary drinks. Water is water. And soft drinks are soft drinks. One may be killing us, but one is natural, straight from the one who created us and engineered our system.
All right. Now, Dr. Ado, now back to our question. How much water do we need to consume in a day?
Okay. Now, if the body is not doing anything, so you don't do any activity and you're lying there, at least you need 1.5 liters for your body to clean itself and to the blood to be at its right fluidity, viscosity, and all that. 1.5.
Okay.
But no, I've not finished. But because we are engaged in activity, there are suggestions that first in the morning, in fact, I'm going to tell my colleague's wife not to give him the water. He has to plan to drink his own water. That I've been reminded. Right, coming back, that's just to throw light on the... Now, so it's important. When you wake up in the morning, your body would have gone through a detoxification, cleansing, re-energizing, supplying the tissues, getting them in readiness. And so you'll find in the morning when you wee-wee, there's a stench. The body is trying to remove all the filth using the fluid medium. And so you need to replace that fluid. That's why some recommend 2 glasses, and depending upon where you are on the planet, they will say 8 ounces. Ghana here, we use cups, we use a calabash. How are you measuring that? But you need to have, let's say, between 250 to 500 mils, if you can take it. Now, it's also important you drink water between 15 to 20 minutes before you have your meal. So it tells the body something is coming, so clean everything. After you've eaten, you need to wait for between an hour and a half to 2 hours. From that time onwards, every 30 minutes to 45 minutes or an hour, I recommend people drink a glass or 2. When I say a glass, it's not those plastic cups you have. It's the bigger one, you drink it. I mean, if you keep trying that, you'll find anytime you have a 500 ml bottle of water, you can just drink it. And if your system is working well and your food has been digested, you'll find within a few minutes you will want to get the waste material out. You know, the water goes through your system and is coming out. So if you look at 8 hours a day or 10 hours from 6 or 12, from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and you take the 1.5 hours, 2 points or 3 points if you eat 3 times, that's 4.5 hours. So you have 7.5 hours of time where you can drink a glass. So the first one and then the others will come to about 8 glasses. But I recommend, especially in the tropics where we do a lot of walking in the heat and your body has to throw out sweat so that you cool down, you need to increase your intake of water. So as much as you can take, because your brain is 82% water, your bones need it, your muscles need it, your tissues need it, you need it to clean the system, you need it for the kidneys. You know, your kidney doesn't just do wee-wee. Your kidney works through filtration of vital fluids and brings out water back into the system, which helps with salivating. If you find your mouth is dried up, or your lips are beginning to stick, or your eyes are even beginning to become kind of dryish, your body is telling you, hey, I'm not hydrated enough.
Right. Now, Doc, briefly, you know, drinking water is quite difficult. And people have devised some means of drinking other kinds of water. We have this sweetened water, whatever water, fruit-infused water and all that. Does it have any effect on us?
Depending upon what is infused. Some of them have sugar in them. And you see, sugar, your body is not good at dealing with it because sugar becomes acidic. I think the problem we have is that we've changed our palate. So things that the body should take naturally is become a problem. We are eating too much sugary things, we're taking too much fat, too much pepper. And therefore, when we are presented with the natural things, they have no natural taste. If you go to the village and they fetch water for you from that pot and you drink it, you ask yourself, what type of fluid is this? It's so tasty, it's so nice. And that's why you find over there, their tissues and their complexion looks different. Those things are market gimmicks because people have a demand for it. But if you learn to drink water, you'll find sometimes even if you forget to eat and you drink, you are well hydrated, your body is able to process, go through its processes in a better way. I would say stick to the water. But, you know, you can't drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Fanta and say, well, it's 90% water and a few things. You'll find that you consume about 14 teaspoons of sugar in that little Pepsi or Cola or whatever. Some say 7, some say 12. But your body don't need that much sugar. So just by drinking that, it makes you more thirsty, want you to drink more of the same thing. And over time, you're destroying yourself. So get hydrated with water as it was created in Eden and get used to it. Plan, that's the thing, plan. You plan your meals, you plan your exercise, you must plan your drinking of water.
Thank you so much, Doc. I think our time is up. So, Dr. Addo, your last words for us before we close.
Life is about planning. When you're a child, your parents plan for you to go to school and do a few things. When you take up as an adult, you also plan the type of job you will do when you go for certain particular positions, the choice of career you want to follow. We must plan for our health, because if you should gain everything and your health is no good, you are no good. So plan to begin the year right. Make your health your priority. No doctor has been trained to take responsibility for your health. It is your sole responsibility to make sure you are healthy.
It's your sole responsibility to make sure you are healthy. Now, Dr. Sapon, your last words for us before we close.
Yes, so health, as Doctor said, it's very important. And so as we plan, it's always best to go as natural as possible, right? That is why we are talking about New Start. Adventist health message is back to Eden.
Right.
And if you look at the Genesis account, you realize that there are some things that God did not allow Adam and Eve to choose for themselves. He didn't allow them to choose where they will stay. And you read Genesis 2, he says that, and God placed them in a garden he had made. Garden of greens, fresh air, sunlight, everything was natural. The next thing, he didn't allow them to choose their food. He told them, behold, I give you every seed, bearing plant, everything that is natural. That is what God gave them. The next thing is which of the days they should keep as a Sabbath. He didn't allow them to choose. He chose a 7th day for them. So in all that we do, going about our 7 days cycle, there's a need for us to rest. We didn't touch on rest, but God is a wise God. Somebody asked me that, why am I vegetarian? If there was no medical research in support of vegetarianism, in support of living on a plant-based diet, what I would say is that it's the first thought of the one who engineered my system. We have to go as natural as possible, free of all poisonous chemicals, and that is the way that God made our system to work. So I will encourage everybody, in the year 2021, we have to go as natural as possible. Drink more water, exercise, eat more greens, eat more fruits. We know we are in COVID times, and we need this to boost our immune system as well.
Yes, it's important to boost our immune system. This brings us to the end of our program. Thank you so much for making time to join us, and thank you to my guest, Dr. Josiah Sapon, and then Dr. David Addo, for joining us. God richly bless you. And to you, our viewer, we air same time next week from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. With another new topic to educate you for your healthy lifestyle. It's not too late to start living a healthy lifestyle. So start now, and it will take you a long way. This is Healthy Living on Hope TV. Thank you for watching. Have a good night and take care. Bye.